Dogman is DreamWorks' upcoming animated film, set to charm and move us all. The movie is based on the books by author Dave Pilkey and promises to be amazing. But did you know there are also some sad moments in these books that might just break our hearts into little pieces?
Am I crying? No, I'm not crying.
Get ready to wipe away some tears. Of course, in the world of a police dog, the most feared villain would be a cat. In this case, we're talking about Petey, who's definitely the biggest antagonist in the story. But what you probably don't know is that he went through a lot of pain in his childhood, which likely contributed to the dark path he'd follow, one we'll witness in the movie. During his childhood, Petey was abandoned by his father, but this wasn't the beginning of the orange cat's suffering. Fans of Dogman know that Petey has a scarred tail, and we know this injury happened when he was young. Exactly how his tail got cut off hasn't been revealed yet, but it's clear that the story is connected to Crud, one of the names for Petey's father. We know that Crud, Petey's father, is a very aggressive and heartless villain who always treated his wife and son poorly. His lack of love runs so deep that in a conversation with his grandson, little Petey, he tries to tell the violent story behind Petey's injury to a young kitten. The theory here is that Crud was probably responsible and doesn't care about the harm he caused. In the 7th book of the series, Dogman For Whom the Ball Rolls, Grandpa Cat shows a twisted, sarcastic expression while referencing his own son's injury. This is definitely a heartbreaking moment because Petey ends up shouting at his father to make him stop talking. Yes, Crud truly is the worst dad ever. You can already tell today's video is packed with important moments for anyone who wants to understand all the references when they hit the theaters. So get ready, grab a snack, and come check out the 10 saddest moments in Dogman you need to know. Cinewave is starting now. They say we're the sum of the people around us, and if that's true, then Lil Petey, Petey's clone, unfortunately faced a lot of hardship in his early days. As I've already mentioned, Grandpa Cat, or Crud, was never a good father and always mistreated his son. When Petey created his clone, he didn't realize the little kitten would see him as a father. Petey, the orange cat, never knew a positive father figure, so of course he was likely to pass down the same kind of example. The idea behind little Petey's creation was to give Petey more help in his villainous plans, but the kitten wasn't born with a mean streak. Instead, he was a kind-hearted little cat who wanted to help others. Heads up, this might be a big spoiler, maybe not for the first movie, but for potential sequels in Dogman. When the evil feline genius realizes that his creation won't fulfill his wicked plans, he decides to do the only thing he knows about being a father. Petey abandons little Petey, just as Crud did to him. Can you imagine how heartbreaking it is to see this tragic cycle repeat itself? When I read the comic, my eyes were swollen from crying so much. Would you like to share your body with your dog? I'd love to, because it would be amazing to speak the language of our pets. I'd really love to know what woof woof means, but I'd definitely not want to go through what Officer Knight went through to make that happen. In Dogman, our hero discovers how to speak the language of animals, though sadly, it happens because of a very tragic event. During a police operation caused by Petey, Officer Knight and his loyal dog Greg are ready to fight crime. But during the mission, an explosive accident inflicts a serious injury on both the man and his faithful dog. The only way to save their lives is to merge their bodies and minds, creating a new being, Dogman. Of course, we love our protagonist, but you'd probably agree that this accident was truly heartbreaking. It essentially ended Officer Knight's normal life, as he could no longer be called human. Likewise, Greg could no longer be considered just a dog. But let me ask you, if you were half dog, what job would you have? I'd be a YouTuber. Comment #Dogman down below so we can get to know ya. Remember when I mentioned that Crud abandoned Petey and then Petey abandoned Lil? One of the most touching moments in this story is when Dogman decides to adopt a lonely little kitten. In this moment, our hero becomes a wonderful father to Lil and shows him all the goodness the world has to offer. Seeing this, Petey begins to reflect on his life and regrets all the harm he's caused. This leads him to reconnect with his clone, who always saw him as something more, allowing them to finally live happily as father and son. But before this happens, there's a deeply sad moment between the two. Lil realizes that his dad needs to confront his biggest trauma, so he manages to bring Crud back into the now ex-villain's life. Petey becomes furious, saying he'll never forgive Crud for abandoning him. That's when Lil tells him he was also abandoned by Petey, and that he forgave him for it. The ex-villain remembers that he really did the same awful thing to his son. They exchange a sorrowful look and embrace. As fun as Dogman is, he suffers from a heartbreaking struggle. Our hero has canine instincts that often irritate others and make it hard for people to understand what he's really trying to communicate. Poor Dogman, unable to communicate properly and even considered a freak by some. On top of that, he sometimes licks people or does his business in inappropriate places. Many times in the comics, Dogman is treated harshly because people don't understand that he sometimes has to act like a dog. This just makes me want to go hug my own pet after hearing this. Speaking of our hero's behavior, in Book 9, Grime and Punishment, one of the saddest scenes is when the mayor fires Dogman, saying he doesn't behave like a proper officer. This makes the entire police station break down in tears, though not everyone is his friend. For example, Maud, who always disliked him since he tends to, well, do his business on her files. This heartbreaking moment happens in a part of the book titled The Saddest Chapter Ever Written, where several officers yell at Dogman and throw him out of the station, following the mayor's orders to fire him. Come on, if a dog can't be a police officer, then who else can? What do you all think? Now what you can do is become our subscriber. Don't forget to join the channel by clicking the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell.
Thank you.
One of the antagonists who constantly bothers Dogman and makes it her mission to hinder the good police officers is Maud. Unfortunately, many sad moments involving our hero happen because of her. At one point, this annoying officer becomes the head of the city's security department, and together with the judge, they decide to imprison Dogman. This character was created to convey a very important message: that mistreating our colleagues is very ugly behavior. Every time Maud uses her position to be cruel to Dogman, it's a moment that truly breaks our hearts. We already know that Petey has a sad past, but he's not the only one. In the Dogman comics, there's a purple fish named Flippy who belonged to the police chief. One day, Flippy ate an important compound called super brain dots, which granted him super intelligence. But this was actually a tragedy because, upon realizing he was now intelligent, he became resentful of everything around him. In the book titled The Little Fish Club, we learn that Flippy was treated with indifference by the larger fish when he was in the ocean. At one point, they put him in danger by trapping the little fish with a hungry octopus that almost devoured him. The larger fish found amusement in tormenting Flippy, fully aware that he couldn't fight back. When the ocean bullies trapped the little fish with the octopus, they became scared things might go wrong. But instead of helping their fellow fish, they abandoned him to serve as food. It's truly heartbreaking to know this happened, especially since Flippy had no friends in the sea. Things only got worse when he was caught along with the octopus and taken far away from his mother. It seems that Nemo wasn't the only little fish separated from his family.
You're kidding, right?
One of the saddest pages in Dogman, which will likely be significant in the movie, occurs after an explosion in Petey's lab. During the chaos, Lil finds a ukulele that belonged to his grandmother. Petey states that they've lost everything, but Little insists that they still have love, and that love lasts forever. This moment is poignant because Petey remembers his mother when he sees the ukulele, and the story of Grace, the former villain's mother, is heart-wrenching. After being abandoned by her husband, Mama Cat becomes very ill, and during this time, Petey is still a teenager. Unfortunately, Grace never fully recovers and passes away, leaving her son alone in the world. The scene that will be important in future Dogman films is when Petey embraces his son, realizing he is no longer alone. He has Lil. This scene is one of the saddest. In Book 6, Petey is in jail for his crimes and Lil goes to visit him. However, the former villain, who has regretted everything he's done, doesn't want his son to come, believing it's not a good place for the little cat. That's when Petey tells him he can't go in and turns away while the kitten sadly calls out for his dad. This moment is truly heartbreaking and will likely be very emotional if adapted for the big screen. As you can see, anyone who thinks Dogman is a story without depth is mistaken. The movie set to release in 2025 is going to move us and warm our hearts. But until then, you need to stick with us. We have 2 more pieces of content for you to watch. See you in the next video!